Now welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Force Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
Alright, for the news, we have something interesting to share. The Mandalorian seems to, somehow, have topped the most watched streaming originals 2023 chart.
That's as mysterious as Palpatine returning.
Yes, I didn't think it was very well liked.
I didn't think it was as good as previous seasons, and from what I've heard from the quote-unquote casuals or normies, they didn't think... Well, I don't know what you want to call the people who just kind of, it's Star Wars, I'm going to watch it, I don't really get into it so much, but I didn't really get a lot of positivity from those people. Granted, it's anecdotal, it's only the people I personally know, but none really got into it the same way like Season 1 and Season 2, they were always excited to talk about it, like, oh my god, you see the episode? And I'm like, well, yeah, I saw the episode. Go figure.
The whole list was really weird in general. And by the way, this is streaming originals, so not like, hey, this was a movie put out somewhere else, and then it came to streaming, so it gets to top the... No, it's things that were streaming originals. They came only to streaming. No TV shows that were on, like, cable.
Well, that shouldn't be an original in a way, right?
Unless you're talking about
stuff like Friends and The Office, which I think get huge
those
views
get huge views all the time.
Yeah.
Although at the same time, some things kind of make it on there that continued streaming only, that didn't continue on in cable.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the top 10, I'll put the image up here on screen. Mandalorian took number 1. Loki took number 2.
Wow.
Yeah. Ted Lasso, which we have not seen on Apple Plus, took number 3. Then it was You from Netflix, Only Murderers in the Building from Hulu, Black Mirror from Netflix, Secret Invasion, somehow.
Wow.
The Bear, Ahsoka, The Witcher.
Look at that. Look at Disney Plus.
Disney?
For the top 10.
And those were its literal 4 big shows this year.
Yeah, actually.
Uh-huh. It's kind of nuts. Some other things that stand out to me on this list were Silo, which we've said was good, is number 15. Invincible, sitting around 18. Shadow and Bone, which Netflix canceled for reasons.
I heard a lot of people upset about that.
Was number 24. Even Bridgerton cracked the top 30.
Well, I thought that was bigger.
This one wasn't the main story.
Oh, okay. Because I felt like Bridgerton was like a big kind of
It
thing.
is, but this was kind of like a side story. That's why it's Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story, and not just the next.
Oh, it's like a Star Wars story. It's like
yeah, it's an anthology.
Solo, a Star Wars story,
Separate.
but this is different.
Mm-hmm. It is totally surprising. I did not expect.
Where did they get the numbers from? Do we know kind of what they're basing this off of, or
no idea? No, I don't know where the numbers come from.
I'm really curious because this seems extremely positive for Disney. For Star Wars in particular, to get number 1 and number 9 with Ahsoka.
Star Wars took 1 and 9. Marvel has 2 and 7.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's crazy good.
Netflix does kind of dominate the list as the overall nature in the top 30. They have the most. But they don't have, even in the top 10, they only have 3 of the 10 slots.
That's very interesting. I'm just surprised. I'm very surprised to see The Mandalorian at number 1, not because I thought it was like atrocious, but because, again, I didn't really hear a ton of good things about it.
Right.
Didn't seem to generate the same sort of vibe earlier seasons, or, the trending online with Grogu. I just didn't see the same kind of, or with Luke coming. It didn't have those moments that seemed to, blow up the internet and trend online.
No, Ahsoka had those moments, but it didn't place high.
Yeah, Ahsoka did have a little bit more of that with Anakin and stuff, but I don't know, very surprised. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe Disney is doing well with Star Wars. I don't know.
The next top 10 list I have to share, which kind of goes with this list, is we have the top 10 most pirated shows of 2023.
I'd love to know where they get these numbers from, too.
The pirates aren't so good at covering their tracks.
Yeah, it's like, the pirates are out there, but you don't know how to stop them from sailing the seas.
Well, number 1 usually belonged to Game of Thrones, but there wasn't any Game of Thrones. I heard that was
the most pirated thing all time ever anywhere, yeah.
So The Last of Us finally showed up, because it wasn't in the top 30 of the other list.
So
I'm assuming this means people don't want to pay for HBO for one show that they watch.
Can you imagine being the HBO exec sitting around the table and being like, so if all these people actually paid for our show, we would probably be way up there? We're losing a ton of money to pirating.
Because Mandalorian was number 2.
Interesting.
Which means maybe more people would have watched The Last of Us than Mandalorian if they were watching it legit.
I think more people, I don't know, I can't say that very definitively that more people watch things legitimately than pirating, but I would assume they do.
Yeah, number 3 went to Loki. 4 went to Ahsoka. 5 went to Secret Invasion.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're kind of
Disney
surprised.
really...
You thought they might have stopped after an episode or 2 of that.
and they kept
you
going.
You can keep it. They throw it back in the ocean.
Well, they're pirating it. They can do what they want.
Yes, it's free.
6 went to Silo. 7 went to Monarch Legacy of Monsters. 8 was Tulsa King from Paramount. 9, Gen V from Prime Video. And 10 is Ted Lasso from Apple.
It's a very interesting... I mean...
People don't want to pay for Apple, Disney Plus, or HBO.
Yeah, I think HBO is kind of that... I mean, I think Game of Thrones was so popular because back then they didn't even have a streaming service. I mean, when it was like first coming out.
Yeah, you just watched it on...
HBO.
On TV, yes.
Yeah, so I think that was one of the reasons it was so pirated. A lot of people didn't want to have HBO just for that show.
And I think HBO is expensive for its offerings.
Yeah, I think that's
the
part of the problem.
ad-free tier for them costs more than... like Disney Plus, it's on par or costs a little more than... No, it costs a little more than the ad-free tier of Netflix, but they don't have the content the others do. Especially seeing as their DC license, Netflix seems to have that now.
I think we also have to keep in mind that is this Mandalorian season 3 or is this the Mandalorian period?
This says the Mandalorian, so I mean, if people decided to go back and watch seasons 1 and 2 beforehand,
I mean, that could also help explain
influenced
Loki,
their numbers.
Who had a first season, but not Ahsoka sitting there at number 4 on most pirated. That's what I'm looking at right now.
And number 9 on the legitimate list.
But I mean, that's like I said, that's actually a really good sign, it seems like. Number 2 most pirated, so you had the people who weren't, who are watching. I mean, that's not a good sign because they don't make money off them, don't get me wrong, but in terms of popularity or interest in the show, that seems to say a lot when you're number 2 on the pirated and number 1 on the legit. That's a lot of people watching The Mandalorian.
That is a lot of people watching Mando.
Yeah.
A lot of people watching The Last of Us, just not...
Yeah, not paying for it.
The people who watched The Last of Us are truly the pirates.
I mean, when you don't make the top 30 legitimately, but you're number 1 pirated, HBO is fuming right now.
Right. I mean, The Witcher was even, number 10 on the legitimate list. So it's not like, oh, well, it's a video game thing. So it's not, well, The Witcher managed to pull it out. But everyone's like, why pay for HBO when I can just pirate it for this 1 week? What do you think will be the number 1 pirated show of 2024?
Who knows?
It's probably going to be something on HBO.
Yeah, everything HBO.
Something on HBO. There's House of the Dragon season 2 coming out.
Oh, that's right. I bet
they will definitely take top of the
What was number 1 the previous year? Because House of the Dragon was last year, right? That clearly wasn't this year. That would have made the list. Mm-hmm. So was that like the number 1? Oh my goodness.
Game of Thrones always tops the pirate charts.
That's technically not Game of Thrones.
It is a Game of, but it is.
Spin-off or whatever, prequel, whatever you want to call it.
It still has the Game of Thrones title.
Sure.
The title of, can I make this as gross and icky as possible and keep people watching it?
Well, I don't think they intentionally
Oh, come on, there was a foot fetish this season.
There were a lot of weird things this season. There's a lot of
First season, opened up with incest.
Sure.
But it kept everyone on the edge of their seat.
It's just well written. I mean, it is.
Yes,
even with the extra stuff, which is kind of realistic in a way.
And that's what went wrong with the last seasons is because we don't even know how they were going to be written because they aren't written.
He's never going to do it.
No, why bother?
If I were a betting man, George R.R. is never going to finish those last 2 books.
Doesn't need to.
He doesn't need to.
The story's been told. What is the incentive for people to buy the books when we believe we know the ending?
Yes, he said that was his ending. Bran was gonna, spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched it, but Bran was gonna end up the one true king there.
Even though in the books he was becoming a tree, literally.
In the books he was he was already basically a tree. He was kind of rooting himself and turning, and he was. Yeah, that's a little different. So curious what happens there. So yeah, very, very interesting. The Mandalorian season 3 was apparently a success, at least according to these numbers.
According to both what was the top original streaming and top pirated.
Yeah.
Mando is a strong success. I believe even looking at these numbers, you could say Ahsoka was a success and deserves to be renewed. I mean, we should get an announcement for season 2.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, again, I don't know where these numbers come from, how reliable they are. Of course, Disney, among others, don't necessarily always release their numbers. So I don't know where they're pulling these from. I'm sorry, we didn't dig deep enough into that. But if these are accurate...
They are. The internet said so.
Whoa. Yeah, because everything on the internet is
I used my super secret sources.
But if these are accurate, that's... I would imagine Ahsoka Season 2 is a guarantee. And The Mandalorian seems alive and well, and Disney... Star Wars on Disney Plus seems to be doing well. Same with Marvel. Interesting. All right, well, that is going to be all we got for you this time. Now it is your turn. Take to the comments below. Tell us what you think about these numbers. Do you think this is a good sign? Are you surprised? Whatever the case may be, leave those comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.